Yeah.
For sure. Well, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is on his way to the White House for crucial talks with Donald Trump, and Australia's Ukrainian community is, of course, watching closely. Kateryna Argyrou is the co-chair of the Australian Federation of Ukrainian Organisations, and she joins me from Sydney. Good morning to you, Kateryna, and thanks for joining us on News Breakfast.
Good morning, Bridget. It's good to be here.
Must be always just such a stressful time for your community. Years after this war began, how are you feeling, and what about your friends and family right now?
It's a very difficult time for us now because we are trying to stay on top of the news, what's coming out of Alaska, what's coming out of the upcoming meeting with Zelensky and President Trump. And for us as a community, the most important thing is that Ukraine achieves peace. But Ukraine must achieve peace in a just way. What we saw happen at the Alaska summit had our community extremely worried. It had our community extremely concerned because we had the leader of the free world, President Trump, that was legitimizing and welcoming a war criminal by rolling out a red carpet for him. This is someone, President Putin is someone that has been knowingly and systematically slaughtering and killing Ukrainians and trying to wipe Ukraine off the face of the earth. And instead of being arrested, he was applauded. So we are extremely concerned about what will come out of the upcoming meeting.
You're concerned that the US president is going to preference Russia's wishes and hopes ahead of Ukraine's interests?
Yes, well, what we can see coming through the headlines is that there is a potential land swap discussion or deal that President Trump will try to pressure President Zelensky into, which we think is completely unacceptable because the aggressor and the war criminal should be held to account, not the victim that has been illegally invaded, be forced to give up land. For Ukraine and Ukrainians, it's not just a piece of land, it's not a line in the sand. Behind that occupied territory are human lives. There are Ukrainian citizens that are being held under occupation. There are filtration camps that they have to go through. There is systemic and widespread torture. That is not something that President Zelensky nor the Ukrainian people can accept by just giving up land and forgetting about the people that are there and having war crimes committed against them.
Does there show some promise in this renewed coalition between Ukraine and European nations? I mean, you have a bloc of European nations offering to go and stand beside Ukraine in further meetings at the White House. What hope do you have that the Europeans will be able to perhaps stand up to the United States?
I think it's incredibly encouraging that the Europeans have showed that support. The Europeans have been clear in articulating that appeasement is not peace. And I hope that through the support of the Europeans and the greater West and our allies, we will be able to achieve that just peace. Because the Europeans very clearly understand that if Ukraine falls, other European countries will fall. Russia will not stop, and they will continue rolling through Europe.
Oh, sorry, but go ahead, Kateryna.
What we hope is that Australia will also stand firm and strong with Ukraine. And there are many things that Australia can do to support Ukraine in terms of making sure that Australia does not support the financing of Russian war crimes, specifically by importing refined Russian crude and sending tax dollars to the Kremlin, which Australia, unfortunately, is the largest importer of refined Russian crude in the world. And so we are advocating with the Australian government now, with Minister Penny Wong, with Prime Minister Albanese, to close the sanctions loophole and make sure that Australia is not financing Russian war crimes and the production of missiles and drones that go to kill Ukrainians.
Well, that is interesting. That is an interesting push, and it's worth us getting a response from the government. What about the diaspora at the moment, Kateryna? How are they faring?
Well, in one word, it's very difficult. We have our family members that are in Ukraine that are currently being bombed and attacked. There's peace talks and potential peace deals that are being discussed, but let's not forget the fact that while Russia says one thing, they continue to attack and brutally attack Ukraine. Not only has the escalation increased on the front line, civilian objects and cities all across Ukraine are still under attack. I just came back exactly 1 week ago. I laid my cousin to rest because he was killed on the front line. We have other community members here in across all of Australia that have lost their loved ones on the front line, people that have been killed in their homes while they sleep at night, and the Russians have been attacking with missiles and drones. So it's actually a very distressing time for our community, and we really hope that Ukraine will be able to achieve peace through strength, because there is no way that you can force Ukraine to give up a piece of their country. It's the same thing as coming to Australia and coming to Prime Minister Albanese and saying that, you know, would you prefer to give up Queensland or New South Wales? It's all Australia, and I'm sure that Australians would protect their entire country, which is exactly what Ukraine is trying to do. We're trying to protect our nation, and we're trying to stand up to an aggressor that is much bigger, better equipped. Russia hasn't been able to gain the entire Donbass territory in 3.5 years, which has been one of its goals, and so now they're trying to get President Trump to pressure us to give up that territory. The only way that Ukraine can win and peace can come is if Ukraine wins on the battlefield, and if Ukraine drives the aggressor off Ukrainian territory and land. And the only way they can do that is if they have the right military equipment, which Australia can also provide in the form of decommissioned equipment, and it can only do it with the support of partners like Australia and the Europeans and other like-minded countries.
Kateryna Argyrou, thank you very much for joining us on News Breakfast, and just want to acknowledge the loss of your cousin and many other friends and family. Thanks for joining us on News Breakfast.
Thank you, Bridget.
It's just horrendous, the impact it's having on so many people. Even the ambassador who we had on last week again, I mean, he's running at the moment to raise money for bone healing structures and metal things like that. So, yeah, an enormous